Welcome back to my channel. This is Nikki of Nikki's Homemade Crafts. Do you know the difference between yarn over versus yarn under? Today I'm going to teach you the differences. Why would you use one over another? But you can't consider one of them being correct and another one being incorrect. It's more like that one is being used more often than the other. But if you really look into the details, you will see that one has certain features that are beneficial for certain patterns. So let me teach you the differences of yarn over versus yarn under for regular crochet, which you see on the left, and Tunisian crochet, which you see on the right. Let's start with regular crochet. On the left, you will see a little swatch with yarn over, and on the right, you see a little swatch using yarn under. And right away, you can see that one of them, the top one using yarn over, is bigger than the one on the bottom using yarn under. So, which means that you can tell that the yarn under, the one on the bottom, has a tighter tension. But to be fair, they both use the exact same yarn, Premier Cotton Batik yarn, which is a multicolored yarn. And they use the exact same hook, which is a G4mm Furls Crochet metal hook. So what's really the difference here? Well, the top, as I said, is yarn over and the bottom is yarn under. And if you look a little closely, you can see that the stitches look a little different, even though I use single crochet for both. So let's start with the yarn over for regular single crochet stitches. So you insert your hook and now you make sure that your hook is underneath and therefore the yarn is over the crochet hook. So look specifically that the hook is underneath the yarn and therefore the yarn is over. And once you've done that, you pull through and now you do a yarn over again. So the hook is underneath and therefore the yarn is over the crochet hook and then you pull through. Let's do it again. So yarn over on both pieces of your stitch. So let's look a little bit more closely between the yarn over versus the yarn under. You can see that the stitches look slightly different, as I mentioned. On the right one is the yarn under, and you can kind of see how the single crochets turn into little X's. Mine are a little shifted too, and on the left with the yarn over, it looks more like a V. So not only is the tension tighter with yarn under, but the single crochets looks slightly different. So the more common one is on the left, which is yarn over, and now I'm going to show you how to do the yarn under. So for the yarn under using single crochet, you insert your hook and you have to twist your hook such that it's over your yarn and therefore the yarn is underneath the hook and then you pull through. So it's a shorter distance of the yarn. And now the same is true for the last step. So you make sure that your hook is over the yarn and therefore the yarn is underneath. So it's kind of like a pull motion and then you pull it through. So let's do that one more time. So you insert your hook, then you make sure that your hook is over the yarn, therefore the yarn is underneath. So a yarn under, you pull through. And then you have to do that again to finish up the single crochet. So it's more like a pull motion at this point. And because you're not twisting your yarn around it like you would do for a yarn over, you have less yarn that you're twisting and pulling through. Therefore, the tension is tighter. So if you do a yarn over, you can see how much your yarn is twisted around and use a lot more than a yarn under. It's a lot shorter. It's a lot tighter. And therefore, the tension is tighter, making this project a lot smaller and of course uses less yarn, but it can also hurt your wrist. Versus the yarn over, the project on the left, which is a lot looser and therefore more friendly for your arms and wrist. Now that doesn't make the yarn over better than the yarn under. The yarn under is typically used for amigurumi. because projects like this need tight tension because we want to make sure that the polyfill or the stuffing doesn't come out. So yarn under is typically preferred for amigurumi or for projects that need tight tension. Now for yarn over, the more commonly known version is used for any other project. Now that doesn't make one better than the other. In fact, you can use both of them for any project if that's what you prefer. Just keep in mind that the yarn under may be more hurtful to your wrist if you're not used to it, especially with a smaller hook size. However, some crocheters simply love the look of the yarn under because the single crochet specifically create more this X shape, and it also twists your project into one direction versus another. But as I said, more commonly you will see the yarn over for most crocheters. Some, like me, myself, I've done that when I was younger. I mixed the two. I used first yarn over and then yarn under in my project in the same stitch. So that can happen as well. That is totally fine. So you pick which one works best for you. Now let's talk about Tunisian crochet. The project on the bottom is done in yarn under and the one on the top is yarn over. I used a 6.5mm Tunisian crochet hook, so the exact same hook. Again, I used the exact same yarn and I used the exact same stitch, which is the Tunisian simple stitch. But automatically you already can tell that there's more tension on the bottom, which uses yarn under, and versus the top, which uses yarn over. It's a lot looser, it's a lot cleaner and not curled so much. So let me show you that a little bit more in detail. I will show you first the yarn under, which is not my preferred one, and I'm just going to insert my hook, and now you can see immediately how with the yarn under I have to twist my hook quite a bit to make sure the hook is over the yarn, therefore yarn under, so that I can pull it through. That's kind of crazy, right? Like you have to twist your wrist and your hook so much in order to do the yarn under for Tunisian crochet. It makes it a little bit challenging, a little bit awkward, and a lot harder to manage. It's doable, but for sure hard. So I'm doing first the forward path. And now the return pass, which is even harder. So you can see I'm really having to twist my project and hook around in order to get my hook over and therefore the yarn under and pull my yarn through. It's quite challenging. So let's do that again. So I pull my yarn through 2 stitches now in order to do the return pass, and it's quite tight. And yes, I'm using cotton yarn here, but with that yarn, it makes it extremely difficult. You can literally feel how tight it is and how hard it is to work. It's hard on your wrists, it's hard on your hands, and it definitely slows you down. And as you can see here, I can even lose my stitches because it is not in favor of Tunisian crochet for sure. I don't know anyone who actually uses yarn under for Tunisian crochet. It curls more, it's a lot tighter, and it also twists to one side. Let me show you now the yarn over. So for the yarn over, it's much easier. Just insert my hook, pull the yarn through by wrapping the yarn around it such as that it's over. And you can see immediately how I'm using a lot more yarn and therefore providing a little less tension and making it a little looser and easier to work with. And it's also much smoother to just pull the yarn that way. And because of the twist, it makes it easier to crochet too, and I won't lose my stitches. So that was the forward pass. So let's do the return pass with the yarn over. So I'm twisting the yarn all around the hook. I use more yarn and therefore less tension, and it makes it so much easier to crochet with the yarn over versus the yarn under. That's just such a short distance and a lot less yarn. So the yarn over typically used, I don't know anyone who uses yarn under for Tunisian crochet, makes it easier. So yarn over is the win for Tunisian crochet, makes it much looser as you can tell. It's easier to work with. Now, it doesn't mean that the yarn under is wrong for Tunisian crochet. It's just harder to, to crochet with. And if you choose to use it that way, that's totally up to you. That's totally fine. You can probably even do a combination of both. But in my opinion, the Tunisian crochet yarn over is a lot easier to work with. So now you've seen the difference between yarn over versus yarn under, depending on regular versus Tunisian crochet. Now I would love to know which version is your preferred version. Are you doing just yarn over? Are you doing just yarn under? Or are you doing a combination of both? And which one do you prefer for either crochet version? So regular versus Tunisian crochet. Let's have a little chat in the comment section below and let me know. And I actually have to say that I really like the look of the yarn under. I'm probably going to use it a lot more for amigurumi or maybe even other projects, just so that I have that look. It can also help a lot for baskets and things to provide more stability because it's such a tight stitch. It's the same stitch, but slightly different technique. Let's have a little chat about it down below in the comment section. And remember, one is not more correct than the other, just one is more commonly used than the other one. Be sure to like, comment, and share this video. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the bell to get a notification next time I publish a video or go live. Now go ahead and watch the next video. You're gonna want to, I promise you do.